Ancient scrolls that were buried in volcanic ash during the eruption of Mount Vesuvius are now being deciphered 2,000 years later, thanks in part to artificial intelligence.
What if the voices of ancient civilizations never truly ceased? They were simply waiting for the right machine to hear them. Imagine thousands of years-old books, burned, buried, broken, about which the world had assumed nothing would ever be found. Suddenly, speak again. And this isn't something from a movie. Today, AI is doing what humans haven't been able to do for centuries. Those blackened Herculaneum scrolls, which were in danger of crumbling to dust if opened, are now being virtually opened, meaning the lines within the book can be read without even touching it. But the real point is that this technology isn't just reading old words. It's accessing the thoughts of those people, their world, and their hidden secrets. And sometimes what emerges doesn't seem like history. It seems as if someone deliberately hid certain things in time, so that they would only be revealed when the right time comes. When AI decoded the hidden secrets of these 2,000-year-old scrolls, what emerged astonished historians. What emerged is anything but normal. Now the question is, if scrolls buried in fire can speak again, what will the languages that have remained unread to this day reveal? And one thing is certain. The last language on our list perhaps reveals the most shocking truth. Some people don't want you to know about these ancient languages. The secrets are deep. To understand them in detail, I subscribe to our channel. Your one subscription motivates us. Now the question arises, when did humans actually start writing? Most people believe that the world's oldest written text was Mesopotamian cuneiform or Egyptian hieroglyphs. But in the last few years, something has emerged that has shaken this entire story. It's called the Danube script. This writing was found around the Danube River in Europe, in areas of present-day Serbia, Bulgaria, and Romania. Archaeologists discovered strange symbols on pottery, stones, and small sculptures. Initially, people thought they were merely decorative marks, like ancient doodles. But as more and more material was discovered, experts realized the truth might be more serious because these symbols appeared in the same way over and over again. Some of these marks are believed to be approximately 7,000 years old. This means that if this was indeed writing, and it could be thousands of years older than Egyptian hieroglyphs and Mesopotamian cuneiform. For decades, the debate raged over whether this was actually a language or simply symbols. Then, modern technology brought a new twist to this debate. Researchers began entering these symbols into AI pattern recognition systems. After examining thousands of samples, the machines noticed something strange. A kind of structure appeared in them. Some symbols appear repeatedly in specific places, so some appear in a fixed order, and others are spaced evenly. All of this behaves exactly like a real language, where syntax and repetition follow a pattern. This raised a major question. If these were merely decorative marks, why was there such a systematic pattern? AI analysis made it clear that these symbols were not random at all. Someone had created them deliberately. But the biggest mystery remains. What did they mean? No one has yet been able to decipher these symbols. And we only know that people living in this region of Europe once used a writing system that may be the oldest in the world. Fire that sealed a library. Herculaneum scrolls. Now let's go back almost 2,000 years to Italy. The year was 79 AD. On that day, an event occurred that changed the entire region forever. Mount Vesuvius, a volcano, suddenly erupted. A storm of ash, fire, and poisonous gases engulfed entire cities in an instant. So cities like Pompeii and Herculaneum were reduced to mere history. But amidst that devastation, something was also buried that would later become a major mystery to the world: a Roman library. When the volcano erupted, hundreds of papyrus scrolls stored in that library burned like black coal. They became so fragile that if anyone tried to open them, they would instantly shatter. This meant there was no way to know what was written inside. For almost 2,000 years, these scrolls simply lay there, like a silent treasure, which the world could see but could not read. Then, in the 21st century, the story began to change. Scientists thought that if we couldn't open the scrolls by hand, why not open them digitally? This is where a unique experiment called the Vesuvius Challenge began. People from around the world were invited to participate, promising to win a prize of over $1 million if anyone could decipher the burned scrolls using AI and machine learning. And this is where a surprising story emerged. Luke Ferreter, a 21-year-old student from the United States, joined the challenge. He began analyzing scanned images of the burned papyrus using machine learning models. Within a short time, his machine recognized a small word: porphyros, meaning purple. It was just one word, but it proved that the scroll's writing was indeed legible. Luke Ferreter then collaborated with other researchers, Joseph Nader and Julian Schilliger, and gradually the machines began recognizing more words. By February 2024, his team had decoded over 2,000 Greek letters, and when the full text began to be deciphered, it became clear that this wasn't the handwriting of an ordinary person. It was the work of an Epicurean philosopher named Philodemus, and he was writing about the joys of life, human emotions, and a peaceful life. The clay records of Mesopotamia. Now, if we go further back than the burned-out library in Italy, we find another vast world in history: Mesopotamia. This is where the earliest stories of human civilization were written. People here began writing by making wedge-like marks on small clay tablets. This writing is known today as Akkadian cuneiform. At first glance, these tablets appear to be mere pieces of dried clay. But they are actually a treasure trove of information dating back thousands of years. Today, more than 500,000 such clay tablets are housed in various museums and research centers around the world. Imagine over 500,000 records, an entire archive of history. But surprisingly, most of these remain undeciphered. The reason is simple: Akkadian is incredibly difficult to translate. Experts in this language are few in the world. Perhaps only a few hundred can read it properly. So, thousands of tablets simply remained on shelves. But in the last few years, this story has undergone a major change. AI has begun to accelerate this work. In 2023, researchers from Tel Aviv University and Ariel University jointly developed a unique AI model. This model was trained on thousands of previously translated Akkadian texts. This language is actually a Semitic language written in the Babylonian dialect. Simply put, it's like Google Translate, but for a 5,000-year-old language. Our research intensified after this. With the help of the Cuneiform Digital Library Initiative and other projects, over 130,000 texts were processed. Research teams in Germany used 3D modeling and neural networks to identify over 21,000 distinct signs. This task previously took humans years to complete, but machines have significantly accelerated it. Now, here's an interesting point. When many people talk about ancient civilizations, they immediately conjure up mysterious stories, curses, or secret knowledge. But when these tablets were deciphered, most revealed something quite different. They contained trade agreements, tax records, grain counts, and records of daily administrative tasks. In other words, they were documents of the daily life of an entire civilization. However, Some very unique items were also found among them. Parts of the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the world's oldest works of literature. This story, written thousands of years ago, still speaks to human life, friendship, and the quest for immortality. The Desert Writers, Dead Sea Scrolls. The story now takes us to a dry and quiet region of the Middle East, the desert surrounding the Dead Sea. Today, this place seems quite peaceful, but around the 1940s, a discovery was made here that astonished historians and religious scholars worldwide. Inside some caves, hundreds of ancient texts written on old leather and papyrus were found. These are what we know today as the Dead Sea Scrolls. These scrolls are often associated with a religious community called the Essenes. It is believed that this community lived a spiritual life, isolated from society, and carefully preserved their writings. Among these scrolls were numerous religious and historical texts, the most famous of which is the Great Isaiah Scroll. For a long time, experts believed that the entire scroll was likely written by a single author, as their handwriting appears to be nearly identical. But in recent years, AI has changed the narrative here too. Researchers at the University of Groningen conducted an interesting experiment. They scanned thousands of samples of the Hebrew letter Aleph and fed it to an AI model. The machine carefully observed the subtle variations in the shape, slant, and stroke of each letter. Differences that are almost invisible to the human eye were detected by the machine, and the result was astonishing. The AI analysis revealed that the Great Isaiah Scroll was written not by one, but by two different people. Their handwriting was so similar that for centuries no one could tell the difference. But when the machine analyzed each stroke, it began to reveal subtle differences. Some letters were tilted slightly, some had different pressure, and some had varying stroke lengths. What's more, AI isn't just looking at the shape of the letters, and it's also trying to understand how much pressure was applied to the pen, where the writer's hand trembled slightly, or where the strokes became faster. Some researchers even believe these patterns can provide clues about the writer's emotional state. The Great South Asian Mystery. Indus Script. Now let's move on to South Asia, where one of history's greatest mysteries remains unsolved. We know it as the Indus script. This writing is associated with the Indus Valley Civilization, which flourished between approximately 2600 BCE and 1900 BCE. At that time, the cities of this civilization were very organized, with a grid of streets, drainage systems, large warehouses, and organized settlements. Many historians consider it one of the most peaceful and organized civilizations of that era. But the greatest enigma of this civilization is its writing. Archaeologists have found numerous seals, pottery, and small tablets associated with this civilization. These bear small, strange symbols. Sometimes an animal is depicted, sometimes a symbol above it. Sometimes just a short line of 4 or 5 symbols. At first glance, it all seems like a code. But the problem is that no one has been able to decipher these symbols. The main reason for this is that we don't have a translation key like the Rosetta Stone. The Rosetta Stone helped decipher Egyptian hieroglyphs, but no such clue has been found for the Indus script. Still, scientists haven't given up. In 2009, Professor Rajesh P. N. Rao and his team took a novel approach to unravel this mystery. They used a computer science tool called a Markov model, and this is a statistical method that helps understand the probability that a symbol will follow a particular symbol. When they fed the model thousands of Indus symbols, they discovered something interesting. The order of the symbols wasn't completely random. They followed the same pattern as a real language. AI and deep learning then advanced this research. Machines scanned thousands of symbols and began identifying recurring patterns. In some projects, symbol segmentation accuracy reached nearly 80%, meaning machines could now identify individual symbols with considerable accuracy. While the true meaning remains a mystery, it has become clear that these symbols are not merely decorative. They display a language-like behavior. Even today, researchers around the world are trying to decipher this code. Furthermore, a $1 million reward has been announced for anyone who succeeds in fully deciphering this script. And this has become not just a historical puzzle, but a global challenge. The Forgotten Kingdom. Meroitic language. The story now takes us to a part of Africa that is often little known in history books. This region is Nubia, today's Sudan. Thousands of years ago, a powerful kingdom existed here, the kingdom of Meroitic. This civilization flourished from approximately 300 BCE to 400 CE. At that time, this kingdom, located south of the Nile River, had its own cities, temples, and culture. But the greatest mystery of this civilization is the Meroitic language. Archaeologists have discovered numerous inscriptions in this language. Some are engraved on stone monuments, others on temples and tombs. Interestingly, this language had two types of writing: a hieroglyphic style, used mostly on monuments and ceremonial sites, and a cursive script, used for everyday purposes. This means it wasn't a minor language, but the official language of an entire civilization. But the problem is that no one has been able to fully decipher it. The same old reason: there's no translation key. The Rosetta Stone helped decipher Egyptian hieroglyphs, but no such clue has ever been found for Meroitic. We can recognize the letters and even read them, but their true meaning remains a mystery. This is where AI has stepped in. Researchers at the MITCSAIL lab in the US are experimenting with new ways to understand this language. Their approach is slightly different, since they aren't trying to translate directly. Instead, they're using structural linguistic AI models to understand the language's internal structure. Machines are looking at thousands of words and symbols to understand which symbols often follow, where patterns are forming, and where grammatical structures appear. In simple terms, AI is looking for behaviors that would occur in a real language, such as grammar, word order, and symbol relationships. This research is still in its early stages, and the data is sparse and most inscriptions are small, making the task difficult. But with each new scan, each new algorithm, machines are beginning to understand a little more about the structure of this language. The hidden numbers. Proto-Elamite script. Now let's head to ancient Iran, where another mysterious piece of writing from history lies hidden: the Proto-Elamite script. It's considered one of the world's oldest writing systems. Archaeologists believe it was in use around 3100 BCE, about 5,000 years ago, at a time when people in many parts of the world were still learning to establish permanent cities. People here were creating strange symbols on small clay tablets. The markings on these tablets appear to resemble cuneiform at first glance, but they are actually a different system. For decades, experts studied these symbols, but no one could decipher their true meaning. Some believed they were a complete language, while others believed they were simply a way of counting and keeping records. But the real problem was that there was no clear key to deciphering these symbols. Then, modern technology brought new hope. Oxford University researcher Jacob Dahl began using a unique technique called reflectance transformation imaging, RTI, to decipher the script. This technique allows highly detailed images of the tablets, making even faint and blurry markings clearly visible. Symbols previously invisible to the human eye now became clearly visible in digital images, or these images were then fed into neural networks and AI systems. Machines began looking at thousands of symbols, looking for patterns in them. Then, in 2025, new algorithms emerged that specifically attempted to decipher the numerical systems of these tablets. That is, machines began to look for patterns related to quantity, counting, and numbers. Gradually, an interesting discovery began to emerge. Many of these tablets contained symbols that likely represented economic records and trade data, such as quantities of grain, counts of goods, or transactions. This means it may not just be a mysterious language, but perhaps a kind of administrative record system. Although the entire script remains incomplete, machines are now recognizing patterns that humans have been unable to see for decades. With each new scanning and each new algorithm, the puzzle is becoming clearer. The famous scripts AI is transforming. So far, we've talked about languages that haven't been fully deciphered. But there are some ancient writings in the world that humans have largely deciphered, yet they used to take a long time to decipher. Now, AI is changing the game here too. Today, machines are helping people read and understand languages that previously took a lifetime to learn. First, let's talk about Egyptian hieroglyphs. And these are the same complex symbols seen carved on pyramids, temples, and stone slabs. Previously, reading them was extremely difficult. Each symbol could have a different meaning, sometimes representing a sound, sometimes a thought, and sometimes a complete word. However, in recent years, Google Arts and Culture launched a special tool called Fabricius. This is an AI-powered system that scans and deciphers hieroglyphs. It uses AutoML technology, allowing the machine to learn patterns from thousands of previous examples. When a new symbol appears, the AI immediately compares it to a large database like the Gardener list and provides possible translations. What used to take months can now be done in seconds. Now, let's move on to China, where we find the Oracle Bone script. It is considered the oldest written text in China, used during the Shang dynasty. During that period, people would ask questions about the future by making symbols on tortoise shells and ox bones. Today, archaeologists have discovered thousands of such bones. Recently, researchers developed an AI system called OBSD that helps identify these symbols. Over 140,000 glyph samples were collected for this project. A digital platform called Tencent Oracle Bones Corpus has also been created, where researchers can view and compare these symbols side by side. CEI also helps identify damaged or broken symbols, making it easier to understand ancient writing. Now, let's look at the Mayan handwriting, called Maya glyphs. This is also considered one of the most complex scripts in the world. Each symbol contains many small shapes, making it difficult to recognize. However, a recent project called Artful Algorithm has emerged. In this system, AI has been trained on thousands of scanned stone carvings. Using pixel segmentation, the machine can distinguish and identify each small symbol. This has greatly accelerated the work begun by Soviet linguist Yuri Knorosov in the 1950s, when he first deciphered many of the mysteries of the Mayan script. The strangest scripts on Earth. There are some writings in history that still remain a mystery to scientists and historians. These are not just ancient languages, but mysteries that have been attempted for decades, yet remain undeciphered. There are many such strange and mysterious scripts in the world, and now AI has become a new weapon in the effort to decipher them. First, let's talk about Rongorongo. This writing is associated with Easter Island, a remote island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. In the 19th century, strange symbols were discovered on some wooden tablets here. Surprisingly, the method of reading them was also different. One line runs from left to right, then the next in the opposite direction, as if the book is being read from the back each time. This is called a reverse writing pattern. Today, only about 20 of these tablets remain. This limited data makes deciphering them extremely difficult. But now, researchers are using machine vision technology to digitally catalog each symbol so that machines can find patterns between them. On another mystery is the Isthmian script, also known as Epi-Olmec. It dates back to ancient Mesoamerica, and examples of it have been found on objects like the Tuxtla statuette and the La Mojara stela. For years, scholars have debated whether it is a real language or simply a system of symbols. Now, some researchers are using evolutionary linguistic models. These AI models attempt to observe how languages change over time, hoping to uncover any hidden patterns in Isthmian symbols. The third mysterious script is Cypro-Minoan, which was used on the island of Cyprus during the Bronze Age. It is believed to date back to around 1500 BCE. For a long time, experts didn't agree on whether it was a single language or several different systems. Now, unsupervised deep learning and GAN models are being used. These machines are trained to find similarities between thousands of symbols to understand whether they could be related to other Bronze Age languages. And then there's Etruscan. This language was once spoken in the region of Italy where Roman civilization later emerged. Thousands of inscriptions have been found on tombs, monuments, and pottery, but the language remains undeciphered. Now, scientists are analyzing these texts using neural networks. Machines try to identify recurring words and suffix patterns, gradually understanding its grammatical structure. When writing is not writing. Quipus and Nazca. The writing we've discussed so far consisted of symbols, letters, or signs carved on stones. But there are some systems in history where writing was done in a completely different way. That is, words are not visible, yet they contain hidden information. The most interesting examples of this are the Nazca lines and the Inca Quipus. First, let's talk about the Nazca lines. These are huge figures carved in the Peruvian desert that are difficult to decipher from the ground, but clearly visible from the sky. They depict large drawings of birds, animals, and strange shapes. For decades, scientists have been trying to understand their meaning. Approximately 430 geoglyphs had previously been identified. However, recently, a team from Yamagata University in Japan and IBM Research analyzed aerial photographs of the area using AI. Using aerial pattern recognition technology, AI identified figures that humans had previously been unable to see. In just a few months, 303 new geoglyphs were discovered. Some resembled birds and animals. Some resembled humans, and some were created near paths that were likely designed to be viewed from the ground. This made it clear that the Nazca people used the desert as a kind of vast canvas. Now, let's head to the Andes Mountains, where the Inca civilization adopted a completely different method of writing. Here, instead of writing on stone or paper, people used threads and knots called quipus. These were colorful threads with knots tied at various locations. For a long time, historians believed they were simply a way to keep track, such as tax, grain, or population counts. But in recent years, researcher Sabine Hyland and other teams have studied these quipus in depth. With the help of AI, patterns in these threads are now being mapped, where the knots are tied, how far apart they are, what color they are, and what order they are in. When these patterns were analyzed by computers, it was revealed that they could not be just numbers, and they may also contain hidden clues to stories or messages. This means that the Incas recorded history and events through knots. If we look at the entire story as a whole, one thing gradually becomes clear. AI isn't just a new technology. It's becoming something more, like a microphone from the past. Thousands of years ago, the people who left their marks on clay tablets, stones, knots in threads, or wooden tablets are now being heard again. Thanks to AI, scientists are able to see things that previously eluded the human eye. Patterns, strokes, tiny symbols, all are slowly integrating into a story. Perhaps in the coming years, more languages will be discovered, and we'll learn what ancient civilizations truly thought, how they lived, and how they understood the world. If you enjoy such mysterious and fascinating stories, please like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to the channel to be the first to see more such videos.